Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, but I don't like it. I am now, look, I've had my reasons for being real hard on Stephanie White because I don't know what kind of agenda is going on there. There's been signs over time. There's been two key signs over time that would tell you Stephanie White might just believe that her Indiana Fever team is better without Caitlin.
The Indiana Fever are spiraling, and Caitlin Clark is right in the center of it all. And trust me, this isn't just another injury update. This is the kind of bombshell that makes an entire league stop breathing. Because when Clark slammed the brakes on the 2025 season with one simple announcement, the internet erupted like a live grenade. Fans went into meltdown mode, debates exploded, conspiracy theories about coaches and front office politics spread like wildfire, and suddenly the WNBA found itself staring at the one nightmare it could never afford: the loss of its brightest star, the one player who single-handedly dragged millions of new eyes to women's basketball. And now the question echoing louder than anything else is brutally simple, but absolutely terrifying. Is this the beginning of the end for the Caitlin Clark era, or is this just the calm before the greatest comeback the game has ever seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having conversation with her and collaborating, and we knew that that West Coast road trip was going to be a big one to see where we could get and how far we could get. And I think at the end of the day, she's been working her butt off to be able to get back, and we've kind of run out of time to be able to do it in a safe way, in a safe manner. And you know, I think we've all been very open and upfront with her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing. And you know, to be in a position that you need to be in to play at this time of the year, we just ran out of time to get her there.
Steph, what stood out to you about Caitlin and kind of the ray of emotion she probably felt as you came to this decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play, and then to, you know, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, you know, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. You know, and the message has continued to be that you know, it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important thing.
I'm curious before.
Hey.
From the very start, there were whispers circling around Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever, and let's be real, those whispers are now roaring because the signs were always there, little clues that maybe, just maybe, White believed this team could actually thrive without Caitlin Clark at the center, and that's where this entire mess begins to feel like more than just bad luck. It feels like a story written behind closed doors, a script the fans were never supposed to see, because think about it. The Fever built their entire identity around Clark, they sold tickets on her name, they made her the face of every campaign, and yet behind the curtain, you could sense hesitation from leadership, hesitation from coaching, and now here we are, staring at the reality that Clark is shut down for the season while the organization tries to spin it as long-term safety and smart planning. But fans aren't buying it, no way, because to them, this isn't strategy, this is betrayal. The unthinkable nightmare where the franchise they trusted with their star may have actually gambled with her future and lost.
It seems to be the thing where it's like, you know, we're running out of time to do it in a safe manner, where it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessarily that Caitlin can't play. It's that Caitlin's probably in the same situation as she was when she played before. As in, she came back, played 5 games, got injured, came back, played 4 games, got injured. Am I right in that? 4, 5, 4. Yeah. Or 4 games and 5 games, whatever way it was. I think it was 5 got injured, 4 got injured. So I think they're scared that if they bring back Caitlin now, maybe, that she's going to go and pick up another soft tissue injury. That's my interpretation of what's happening right now. That's what it sounds like to me.
Caitlin Clark didn't just stop a season. She flipped the entire sports world upside down with one decision. Because, let's be honest, the moment her shutdown became official, the internet lit up like a wildfire. Timelines flooded with panic, trolls, and desperate speculation. Fans arguing if this was really about health or if some deeper agenda was in play, and the chaos felt instant, like one spark had blown up the entire conversation around the WNBA. Because Clark isn't just another name on a roster, she's the one who turned every arena into a sold-out spectacle, the one who dragged casual viewers into women's hoops with her insane range and fearless swagger, and now the same people who cheered her highlights are stuck, refreshing injury reports like they're waiting for a verdict, caught between hope, fear, and conspiracy theories about endorsements, front office politics, and whether the league itself knew this collapse was coming. And that's what makes this so explosive. It's not just Clark's season on the line, it's the credibility of the WNBA itself, hanging by a thread.
Have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a wait for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back, only for that not to happen, takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and the WNBA. But the good news is her career is not over. But it's a tough blow when it all comes crashing down like that. And ever since Stephanie White.
Now, we're staring at the unthinkable possibility that Caitlin Clark's basketball fairy tale could actually end before the story ever hits its peak. Because remember, this is the player who turned women's basketball into must-see television, who packed arenas coast to coast, who made highlight reels feel like viral cheat codes, and suddenly she's parked on the sidelines looking like the most painful what if in modern sports. And the whispers are already circling louder than ever, people asking, is this really it? Could one soft tissue injury after another erase all that hype, all those jaw-dropping records, all those breathtaking moments that felt like the start of a dynasty, and instead recast her as the most heartbreaking one-season wonder we've ever seen? Because sports is cruel like that. It forgets faster than TikTok trends. 1 year, you're the face of the game, the savior of a league, the player every kid copies in the driveway, and the next, you're reduced to a cautionary tale coaches bring up when warning rookies about how fast it can all vanish. And that's exactly the cliff edge Clark is standing on right now. The fine line between eternal legend and devastating what could have been.
All right, so now, I don't know who asked the question. The young lady, shout out to you. She said, hey, are you guys gonna make an announcement? Like that, I appreciate you at least. You didn't say it as blunt as I would have, but you said it. You asked the question. Hey, because now she's saying, yeah, the plan on this West Coast trip was to evaluate. How you gonna evaluate her if she never had contact? What's the evaluation? She's been able to shoot jump shots. She's been able to run up and down the court by herself with nobody touching her. What was there to evaluate? Now you're pushing it through the weekend, leading us on, having us dangling in the...
Right now, Caitlin Clark isn't lacing up sneakers for games. She's suiting up for press conferences. And every word that comes out of her mouth feels less like the bold promise of a comeback and more like a desperate attempt at damage control. Because the tone isn't confident, it isn't fiery, it's cautious, careful, almost pleading. Like she knows the spotlight that once followed her every step is beginning to flicker. And fans can feel it too. The interviews don't sound like, see you soon. They sound like, please don't forget me while I disappear into rehab. And that shift is crushing, because when the noise fades and the cameras move on, the silence gets louder. And Clark, more than anyone, understands that women's basketball is unforgiving, that the machine never slows down, that while she's stuck rehabbing in the shadows, new stars are being pushed forward to steal her moment. And the cruel reality is this: the league she built its entire marketing plan around might actually be preparing for life without her, leaving Clark not as the hero of the story, but as the tragic reminder that nothing in sports is guaranteed, not even for the brightest star. And, of course, the trolls wasted no time. They pounced like vultures circling fresh meat. The same people who barely knew Caitlin Clark's name last year suddenly turned into overnight doctors on social media, tossing out diagnoses and hot takes like candy, comparing her to Greg Oden, stamping her as a wasted talent before the ink on her rookie highlight reel even dries, and that's the savage cruelty of the internet. If you're not lighting up the scoreboard, you're instantly disposable, just another target for ridicule. But here's the reality nobody wants to admit. Some stars break and never recover, others snap back stronger and rewrite history, and right now, Clark is caught in that merciless middle ground where nobody knows which way her story will swing. Yet, the chatter never stops. The labeling never slows. She's already being filed away by critics as the cautionary tale that hype doesn't equal longevity. And what makes it even more gut-wrenching is how fast it flipped. Just months ago, she was out there frying defenses and smiling through interviews like she'd cracked the code to sports stardom. And now, one injury later, the narrative has twisted so brutally hard that she's being treated like yesterday's news before her second season even had the chance to breathe. Every single update on Caitlin Clark feels less like sports coverage and more like a full-blown soap opera cliffhanger, because fans aren't celebrating highlight reels anymore. They're dissecting injury reports like fortune tellers searching for signs, desperate to know if the comeback is real or if the nightmare is permanent. And that's the brutal part. Nobody wants to admit the possibility that we may have already seen her peak, because not every career ends with a farewell tour and standing ovations. Some end quietly, slipping into obscurity while the machine moves on. And Clark is standing in that exact spotlight of doubt, her name being pulled into endless debates. Was she just hype? Was she overrated? Or worse, does her sudden rise and collapse prove women's basketball can't sustain a superstar? And the media loves this cycle. They built her up as the savior, and now they're circling to tear her down, feeding the fear, fueling the clicks, because that's how the sports world works. It thrives on triumphs and collapses, and right now, Caitlin Clark's career is dangling in between those extremes, making her story not just a headline, but a cautionary mirror for the entire league. Caitlin Clark's entire story right now feels like it's teetering on the razor's edge between legacy and tragedy. Because one season of brilliance isn't enough to shield her. There's no wall of MVP trophies, no dynasty rings, no endless archive of highlights to remind the world she belongs. She has one record-shattering rookie year that looked like the beginning of a dynasty, but if she can't build on that, if she can't get back on the court, her career risks being remembered as nothing more than a YouTube playlist of best plays before the injury. And that's a brutal reality for any athlete, because sports doesn't wait. The league keeps spinning, new rookies light it up, fresh faces steal the spotlight, and by the time Clark is healthy enough to return, if she ever is, that spotlight may have already moved on. And that's the cruelty here. The machine never pauses. It doesn't care about rehab or promise or potential. It only remembers those who keep showing up. And if Clark doesn't, her entire legacy could collapse into the most heartbreaking, what could have been story women's basketball has ever seen. And maybe that's the cruelest twist of all, because even if Caitlin Clark heals, even if she fights through the pain and somehow laces up again, there's absolutely no guarantee the world will still be waiting for her. The physical recovery is brutal, but the mental recovery is the real battlefield, going from torching defenses nightly to sitting helplessly on the sidelines, while new names take over the very spotlight you built. It eats at you. It whispers doubts that grow into screams. Will I ever be that player again? Do the fans still care? Did I already peak without even realizing it? And those questions are heavier than any rehab drill. Because Clark wasn't just another rookie, she was branded as the savior of the league, the player who would drag women's basketball into its next golden era. And now she's staring at the terrifying reality that the golden era might move forward without her. And that's the kind of pressure that crushes even the strongest athletes. Because in sports, the show never stops, the machine never slows, and the spotlight doesn't wait. It simply shifts, leaving stars either to chase it back or fade away into memory. One moment, Caitlin Clark was the unstoppable face of women's basketball, the player who sold out arenas and turned the league into a must-watch event. And the next, she's reduced to headlines about setbacks, speculation, and whispers of what could have been. And that's the brutal beauty of sports. Legacies can be written and erased in the blink of an eye, because if Clark storms back healthy and dominates again, she won't just be a star. She'll be immortalized as the comeback queen who redefined resilience. But if she doesn't, Then she becomes the cautionary tale that the brightest lights burn out the fastest. And either way, her name is cemented in history. Sponsors built campaigns around her, broadcasters shifted schedules for her. The entire league hitched its future to her rise. And now, with her absence, everything feels shaky. And that's why the world can't look away, because this isn't just about one player's injury, it's about an entire sport holding its breath, waiting to see if Caitlin Clark's story ends as a legend's rise, a tragedy's fall, or the most haunting, unfinished chapter in basketball history.